So Casey, what is up with putting in mini splits? This is the third one that I just got in, and let me give you a little explanation why. When I have this big, beautiful Train 5-ton 13-seer air conditioning, a heat pump unit sitting outside my house. So far I installed, this is a 12,000 BTU unit, 1 ton. A 12,000 BTU. The first one I installed was an 18,000 BTU, which is a ton and a half, and the other one was a 9,000 BTU, so 3/4 of a ton. This is 1 ton. This is going to be going in our bedroom, and it's going to heat our bedroom, bathroom, and our hallways. Now this is another Pioneer. This is the second Pioneer. The other 9-ton. I'm sorry, the other 9,000 BTU is the Pioneer, and the 18,000 BTU is a ductless air. The ductless air one is a little bit more pricey. It's like 1 or 2 higher SEER on it, and I just don't know that it's worth the extra money on that, because I was pretty impressed with this little Pioneer over here. So why? Let's get to the why. Why, when I have a fully functional heat pump on my house, did I want to go with this? Well, there are 3 or 4 reasons why. First off, we call the 5-ton, the Beast. My wife and I, we call it the Beast. Oh, the Beast is on. We actually have to turn up the volume on our TV because the thing blows so hard, because we don't have a basement here in Texas. So it's actually in a closet. The blower unit is actually in the air handler unit is actually in a closet in the hallway, and it has the return airs on the bottom, and then one in our bedroom. And yeah, when it kicks on, it's loud. It's loud. You have to turn up the TV a little bit. So that's one thing. That wasn't the top of the thing. The top of the thing was when we had our freeze apocalypse down here in Texas in 2021, February 2021. I have a 7,500 watt generator, and yeah, it would not run it. It won't start it, anything. And I know what you're saying, Casey. You can go get them soft starts for it. It'll start it right up. I get it. I understand that, but you still got to run it. You still got to run it. Now, I did the math over here on that unit just when it was running. I wrote down numbers. I even verified it, online with all the information we can find, and it's pretty much accurate. While it's running, after the initial startup on it, while that 5-ton is running, it's drawing 22 amps at 240 volt. That's 22 amps per phase. So that's 5,300 watts of power it's using. That don't include the air handler on it. The air handler, when I checked that when it was running, that's another 3 amps a phase at 240 volt. So that's 700. So that's 6,000 watts of power that draws. Now, you look at it from a solar standpoint. If you've been following me, some of my solar stuff, you would have to have a battery bank the size of Connecticut, to power that thing through the night. And yeah, that ain't going to happen. I mean, so I get it started. I'm using my gas generator, and I get it started up. I am at over 85% capacity running that thing. That don't leave much room for your refrigerators, your freezers, lights, just everyday stuff. You turn one burner on a stove, boom, you're done. You should have your generators should be sized to 75% of your needs. In other words, your needs should not, the most you would ever want to run should be about 75% of what your generator's capable of. Because if you're running it at 75% or close to it, when you kick something in, be it a well pump or a burner for a stove, or I'm trying to think of more induction load, like your refrigerator, if you have a big refrigerator, and that spike is probably, if you're up at 75%, that spike is probably going to put you over 100%. And it may not kick out, but the thing is when you start doing that, when you start running your generators at maximum capacity, when something kicks in, it's the recovery time for it to get back up to a 240 volt or 120, whatever you're running, and you're 60 hertz, or if you're Europe, you're 50 hertz. That recovery time is getting longer and longer the closer you get to 100%, and eventually it's not going to recover and it's just going to fail on you. So, I mean, hey, if you're all into keep resetting all your junk all the time because your heat pump is running and that's fine. And if that's what you have, that's all you have, you do what you got to do when the grid goes down. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try on something else because my long-term goal is to eventually, some way, shape, or form, do most of my stuff on solar. I'm not powering that thing on solar. You would need a heck of a bank of solar to do that with. Right now, with all of these three running, because they're inverter, that's the cool thing about these things. They're not on or off. They're everything in between. They're everything from off to full on. So they can run at current in between their full capacity and their off mode. When these things are close to temperature and they're just idling, man, you know, that 9-ton, that takes about amp and a half, per phase. That's a 240 volt. The 9,000 BTU, you know what I mean. The 18,000 BTU, when that one's idling along, it's right around 2.5 to 3 amps. And then I just got the 12,000 BTU going, and that's a 110. That's actually a 110. So that's a little bit different. That too, if it was split up, it was right around 4 amps when I measured it. So if it was a 240 volt, that'd be right around 2 amps or something like that. A little bit under, actually, it was. So all totaled up, when all three of these are just idling along, it's 8 amps. They're drawing 8 amps of power when all three of them are just idling along. And I haven't had them that long, but I'd say about 90% of the time they're just idling along. They're really not working that hard, because once your house is at temperature, it's just maintaining that. And they really, I'm surprised. It's just that one in our den right now, that thing, it's on more than it's off, but it's, like I say, it's drawing an amp or amp and a half of power, and you just can't go wrong with that. And the other thing on the heat pump too, if you have a heat pump on your house, like I have that big 5-ton unit, well, there's this thing, it's called auxiliary heat or emergency heat, whatever you want to call it in there. When it goes into defrost mode, when it's cold outside and it goes into defrost mode, that starts up a big toaster inside your air handler. Like I have a 7.5 kilowatt toaster oven inside there, because otherwise, if it went into defrost mode without that going, it would be just blowing out cold air. Right now, that big toaster kicks in. That's rewarming up the cold air after it goes through the coil, so it just blows out lukewarm air. Well, I tell you, you would need a heck of a generator. I'm talking. You would probably need about a 15 kilowatt generator in order to handle all that at one time. So yeah, that's the other thing you have to remember on your heat pump. Okay, yeah, you can get the soft starts. You can start them up. Can you keep them running? Is the other thing. Can you keep them running? Yeah. And that's a heat pump. If it was air conditioning, it wouldn't be that, because it wouldn't have to enter into the defrost mode. And well, the other thing, of course, probably number 2 reason is cost. I mean, just the sheer cost of that heat pump turning on and off. When it's really cold out, and if it drops down in the teens, it's running. It's pretty much running. It's running more than it's not. Especially if you get down in single digits like we did during the freeze apocalypse in 2021. yeah, it just runs. It just runs constantly. So I mean, it's drawing your 6,000 watts just constant because it's just running. And so it is cost, and it's also the cost of having to do the whole house. And with that thought, the cost is we have the fireplace insert. I'll put some pictures on it. That thing's just cool as hell. It's one of these energy efficient ones. I don't have the catalyst in it or anything like that, but it has the secondary air tubes and stuff. The thing's cool as hell. I'll put some videos up of that in there. So we do some burning, and I have all the wood out here. So we do some burning. Well, and that thing will keep our front room and the kitchen, the den, and everything. It'll keep everything at 75 degrees without even me having it going hardly at all. But our bedroom will get cold. So now when I'm burning, I can keep our bedroom warm just because I just need to run one unit. Just our bedroom unit has to be on. The other two units won't run. So that's another advantage is you can separate how cold, hot, cool, whatever you want in each individual room. That's not a big deal with us, but yeah, it's just one more convenience. And plus, that unit I have out there, while it's fully functional at this moment, it is 10 years old. It was, I believe the install date on it was 2012. So it's a little over 10 years old. Last winter, it was running. All of a sudden, I noticed it's running. It's blowing out cold air, and yeah, I had to shut it down. Did some investigation, and I wasn't sure. It was froze up solid, so I just took a stab and I ordered a defrost board for it because I hopped online and just did some research. So I ordered a defrost board. It was like $160, but luckily this time when that went down, because it was down, it took like 3-4 days for me to get it, and because I didn't do like a $120 shipping fee so I could overnight it, because I just fired up the wooden fireplace insert, and it kept us plenty warm because it wasn't super cold out either, but it was enough to freeze up that unit. So we had that go out on it. We were down. Luckily, we had the fireplace insert, not a problem. And then this past summer, we had the super heat wave come through here, and it was 110. Oh gosh, we were hitting 115, no problem. So it was getting hot, and one evening, once again, it was on a Friday evening, get home from work, hop out of the shower, and I happened to walk below a vent, just like, man, this thing's blowing warm air. And yeah, I go outside, and it's not running. Did a little bit of troubleshooting on it. Turned out to be the start run capacitor for the compressor unit. Once again, I had to pull the unit out of my shop over here, mount it in a window, because I'm not calling anybody, and I can't. I don't have a supply chain of parts, so I can't call anybody. And this is a Friday at 7:00 in the evening, so I'm not calling anybody and paying the fee for that. So I pull the unit out of my garage. It's a wall unit, but it fits in my one window over there just temporarily. And that unit is a 12,000 BTU. And then I have another small 9,000 window unit that it used to be in a shed, and now it just sits on my shelf over here. I put that in our bedroom, and surprisingly, once I got those up and going, and it kept the house pretty cool. It kept it below 80, and I guess once I got the capacitor in and that, I got everything fired back up, and that's when I started talking to my wife. It's just like, yeah, why don't we look at some of these mini splits and that? So. And that was another reason, because I know this unit that's out there, it's getting old and that. And anytime, I'm sorry to say, but anytime you get around 10 years nowadays, it's hard pressed to go much past beyond that. And I know a unit that size, what it's going to cost me. And you could be thinking, now I actually only have, between all three units, I have 3.25 ton of heating, air conditioning, and 5 ton. I'm probably not going to have enough. You know what? I really don't care. I'm still looking at getting another unit. I'm going to see how well this does through the winter, and next summer I'm going to see it may be good enough. But I'm thinking I'm going to need another unit for the other 2 bedrooms. But because I still have that train I'm not taking it out. It's still there, and all I got to do is set it at whatever temperature where, as long as the other ones are running and keeping up, it won't kick in. But I can set that one where if it can't keep up, if we have like a super low dip that goes down into the negatives and it needs that little bit of extra, it's still there. I just turn it on. I'm not flipping it out. And the other thing is what I like about the mini splits. If I was doing a home right now, if I was building a home, I would probably put in 3 or 4 mini splits throughout. Use different things because you have repeatability. If you have one unit go down, you don't have to make an emergency phone call because you have a unit down. You still have 3 other units in your house that are heating or cooling. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. Like right now, if you just have the one air heat pump in your house and it goes down, you're done unless you have a backup plan for it. So there's also the repeatability on it. So that's about it. I mean, we're looking at reliability, cost savings, being able to run on backup power without a problem. Those are the main reasons. And yeah, so I mean, let me know what you think. Right now, I only got to spend a week or 2 of 110-degree weather, and the 2 that we had going at the time actually did really well. So I'm gonna see now for the winter how good these units go, and I will definitely get back to you on that as far as if I think they suck. Because I heard some reviews as far as like, oh, when they go into defrost mode, they blow cold air all over the place. I don't know what unit they have. Now when these go into defrost mode, the inside blower shuts off and it goes through its defrost thing. It actually goes back into the heat pump mode, heats the coils back up, and the blower kicks back on. I felt absolutely no draft at all, which is better than the one we have now, because the one we have now, like I say, when it goes into defrost mode, it turns on the toaster oven inside the air handler and it reheats up the cold air that it just air conditioned. Kind of counterproductive if you think about it, but which is another big energy consumption cost-wise. So yeah, and it's kind of like lukewarm air. That it's not blowing out like nice warm air. It's kind of like a lukewarm air, especially if it's like down in the teens outside where the heat pumps, it's already cold. So yeah, so I don't know what brand he had, but both the ductless air and the Pioneers, basically the inside blower shuts off. It runs the outside unit for a couple minutes, heats it back up, turns it back on. I didn't notice any cold drafts. Now between the 2 different brands, the ductless air and the Pioneer, I don't notice any major thing between either one of them. I mean, but I'm sure there's a longevity type thing on it, or and like I say, the ductless air is a little bit more efficient, like 1.5 series more than the other 2. Pretty much not a big deal cost savings. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice any, like I say, anything major between the 2. I just think the Pioneer is a little bit more DIY as far as it comes with the tube, the tube sealer. It comes with the extra flare seals. It comes with the template. And, there's just a couple other. They give you the Allen wrench. You don't even need to pull out your Allen wrench set and figure out what Allen wrench goes inside there. Not that it's a big deal, but they include it in there for you. So between the 2, I guess I would base it off a sale price, really. I wouldn't spend any more for either one, but like I say, until we start going through some seasons here, maybe then I'll have to change that. But for now, it's just like, nah, I'd base it off of cost, because neither one is any quieter or anything than anyone else. I guess one of the big difference, and that's not a big difference, is the ductless air has on their remote, it has a follow me mode. So if you take your remote, it has to be within sight, where you can have it It can send information back to the head unit. As far as you can have the temperature, say you're across the room, and that's where you want it to read your temperature. You just take the remote, and as long as the remote can still contact the head of the unit, that's the temperature that it's going to run off. So that's nice. The Pioneer has one. It's called a feel me mode or something. It's just something really weird. But it's the same thing, but it only lasts for 2 hours. It only does that for 2 hours, and then it goes back to the temperature goes back to the head unit. So it only lasts for 2 hours. So that's kind of bizarre for me. I guess if I wanted the remote to do the temperature control, that would be a big disappointment. So make sure you look that up if that's real important to you. But yeah, now I haven't really used it. It just said in the manual that it's for 2 hours, and then it goes back to the other operation. And one of the other things I forgot to mention, where I got them from, not that I got any money from them, but I did buy mine through Home Depot. And I did that because I didn't want them delivered to my house. I actually wanted them to deliver to the store, and I was going to pick them up at the store. So the reason I did that is I see how these places damage the crap out of everything. And I was glad I did, because one of the units that was actually the first Pioneer came in, and the compressor unit, the top was crushed down. Now, whether it did any damage to the fins or whatever, I don't know, but I refused the shipment. They're like, no problem, sent it back, brought me in a order. Well, they ordered me a new one, so I had another wait. But I didn't have to go through the hassle of having it shipped back and that. So something to think about when you order these, because some of these are pretty heavy. And the other thing with them shipping to Home Depot too is they ship them on a skid, so it's shipped upright. It says right on the box it should remain upright. It's just like a refrigerator or anything with Freon and oil in it if it's laid down. So I like that idea of having them shipped on a skid and maintain the upright position. And I think if going through UPS or something, I don't see that happening. And plus, there's actually two pieces to it. You have your base, the condenser, and the compressor unit. So they got to get two boxes to your house. And I don't know, I just felt a little bit more secure going through a store where I could refuse it on site. Well, that's my 2 cents on the mini splits and why I put them in. And I will keep you posted as far as how good they do. If I have any trouble with them or anything like that, I'll definitely let you know and keep you posted. Until then, thank you for watching. This is Casey. We'll talk to you soon.